What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media Channel. I am Brian. I'm your host, and I want to thank everybody for joining me here on this Friday evening. We're going to jump back in tonight to the Idaho 4 case, Bryan Kohberger case. This is a case that I've covered on my channel a long time ago, back in 2022. And it just seems like, wow, we've almost 3 years out now. 3 years. And finally, we are starting to get some new information in this case. And I think Judge Hippler has been doing a phenomenal job. He's a no-nonsense judge. I think he's judging from the bench. And, it's time to start unsealing some of these documents and let the public know what's going on in this case. Of course, we have the anticipation of the Bryan Kohberger case to take place in August. I plan on hopefully getting out there for about a week, out in front of the courthouse, talk to some of the locals. Probably never going to get into the courtroom, but it would be nice to be out there and, kind of see what that's going to be like out there. So I am planning a trip. I've been looking at some Airbnbs, probably going to start booking one soon, looking at some flights to get out there and spend, a couple days to a week out there during the trial. It's just been kind of like, I've been like, oh, do I want to book it? Do I not want to book it? I get it. You can cancel and move your, reservations and stuff. I just don't want to lose out on any money if we book the trip. So still kind of going back and forth if I'm going to make it out there. But anyway, I digress. So obviously, we've been keeping an eye on the Kohberger case. Things are definitely starting to heat up. We're starting to get, let's see, we're 4 or 5 months away from August, the start of the case. And, I noticed an article that came up the other day. Obviously, we had some new DNA evidence that dropped. 3 unknown DNA profiles were found under Maddie Mogen's fingernails, and this kind of sparked some conversation around this. And then obviously we had a evidence dump the other day, some unsealed documents, and we get a closer look at some text messages that were going on between the 2 surviving roommates, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen. We heard about the 911 call. It's not the complete call. It is a transcript, but we're going to go through all of that tonight. And I have the documents here. And it's just been it's been an interesting, let's say last 4 or 5 days in this case. And I think things are really going to heat up. I think that Judge Hippler, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of evidence being unsealed soon. No offense to Judge. I think that he was a softer judge in all of this. I think that the defense probably had a better chance, if we want to say that. If this actually trial took place in Moscow, it seemed like, Judge was a little bit softer, and Hippler is just not going to really take any shit on this. And I think he's doing this case some justice in letting the public know. I look at text messages and the 911 call. It would have really been nice if this was all unsealed at the very beginning of this case, because it could have cut down a lot of the controversy and a lot of the kind of who's who and what's what was going on in this, and setting the public straight into actually what was happening. Now, my personal opinion in this, I think they got the right guy. I think this guy is definitely mixed up in it somehow. He may be the sole person involved in this, but I strongly believe, and I can have that belief, and I get it. Innocent until proven guilty. Look, I'm on this channel. I've supported Karen Reed. She's 100% innocent. That is my opinion. That is my fact. I know it for a fact. Why others out there say that she's 100% guilty, I can have that opinion here. And I think, Kohberger is the guy. I really do. And I think this case, as you start seeing these documents being unsealed and looking at this evidence coming forward, I think it's going to really paint a different picture of who Bryan Kohberger is and his involvement in this case. So that is kind of my opening monologue here. And we're going to start pulling up some articles. We're going to look at documents tonight. I have a few videos. We saw Steve Gonsalves, talked a lot about the text messages and 911 calls. So we have that video. And we'll get through this. We'll get through this. So again, let's see here. Wow, we're seeing some old names in here. Look at this. SC checking in. Wow, it's been a very long time seeing you. I hope your dad is doing well. I know that you were frequent flyers on the channel when I used to cover the Idaho 4 case way back in 2022. It is very nice to see you again. And she said that it'd be cool. I remember talking to going on about 3 years ago. Yes, and it's very nice to see you. I hope you are well. And Joanna is just agreeing with me. Well, this judge takes no BS. I completely agree. Mark Cunningham checking in. Mark's been a long fan here of the channel as well, saying love the hoodie. Still remember my dare officer like it was yesterday. And we have Papa Roger with the first super chat this evening. Thank you so much. And if you know the Papa Roger name and what this is to this case, or the rumors that it was to this case, we will see if it does have any significance here in the upcoming trial. But he says we will meet soon. We will meet soon. I love that. Again, we have some Mary's in here. Mary's a very long follower of the channel back to the Idaho days in 2022. And this really was the case that kind of popped off this channel. And I'm very excited to get back in this. I've been kind of reinvigorated in it now that we have new evidence. And I want to start doing some more lives here on the channel about it and going through this. Let's see. Sophie said she got 5 Guys for dinner. I'm laying off the 5 Guys. I definitely am. And I started I'm also trying to cut the soda and sugar back too. Cindy's in here. She said, I started following you with the Idaho for 22 plus months ago. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. Jay Rockin checking in from Michigan. Good to see you. All right, let's get into my presentation real quick. Kevin checking in saying, great seeing a show about the Idaho 4. I'll never forget catching you on the Drunk Turkeys. You were just a cub. Yes. And the funny thing is my first appearance on this show actually was a call-in. And then we actually did a segment here on the show. So Tsunami says so much evidence. I know I'm going to be talking to him soon. Longtime moderator here and friend of the channel, and just such a good guy offline. And it's been a pleasure. He's fucking hilarious. And it's nice to see him. Lisa says, it's nice to see you doing Idaho tonight. Yeah, I mean, we got to get into this stuff. And, I understand this is primarily the last, 2.5 years of this channel has been very Karen Reed centric. Of course, we're going to continue to follow that, do my best, to get the best information out there. But we got to come back to some old friends here. And I'm sure there's 90 million streams going on about Karen Reed tonight. I know there's a lot of documents that dumped in that case, but we got to come back to, I don't really want to say old friend, but we got to come back to an old case here and do that. So Casey says, the good old days. I remember those nights too. Glad to see you well. All right, let's get into this presentation here that I have. I have a couple of articles and we have the documents that we're going to read through. We have some videos, lots of stuff to go through tonight. As you come in, please make sure to smash that like button. It helps the algorithm. We can get some new subscribers in here as well. So this is kind of what caught my attention the other night. Judge tells attorneys to stop being so secretive in the Bryan Kohberger quadruple murder case. And this is reporting from the AP, and we'll read through some of this as well. Boise, Idaho. An Idaho judge is warning attorneys to quit filing so many sealed documents in the murder case of the man accused of stabbing death of the 4 University Idaho students. Bryan Kohberger's defense attorney and prosecutors have made a secrecy a norm rather than the exception. District 4, 4th District's Judge Stephen Hippler wrote in a court order on Monday, quote, this runs counter to the public's First Amendment right to know what's going on in its courts, Hippler wrote. This is a no-nonsense judge. He's not going to put up with it here. He is going to rule from the bench, and I love this. He ordered the attorneys to use the least restrictive steps necessary to protect confidential information in this case, such as redacting some lines or using initials instead of individuals' names. I love it. Obviously, we know the background of the case, that horrible night on November 13, 2022. Again, Hippler directive came as a flurry of new motions were filed ahead of the August trial, including a sealed defense motion to take the death penalty off the table that cited autism spectrum disorders. I'm telling you, this defense is throwing so much shit against the wall to see what's going to stick here. And I'm going to probably tell you this. In my opinion, I think they got the goods on this guy so much that they're probably talking about working out a deal with him. It's probably going to work out a deal and take a deal. But I don't know. Maybe he's the extreme narcissist like we all think. It's funny. They want to get the death penalty off the table. We keep seeing this filing. Let's get the death penalty because I feel that they're trying to make a deal here. And again, I could be wrong, but it is very interesting that every single time, let's get the death penalty off. Get the death penalty off. Now they're citing autism. It's a little strange. It is a little strange. We have Rogue checking in. Long time no see. I hope you're well. Channel member and moderator back to the old Idaho days. Yes, I saw that. They did use the firing squad today. And if Kohberger is convicted, and they will use the firing squad out there. So it goes on. Other sealed motions include one, whether the terms of psychopath or sociopath can be used during the trial, and one from prosecutors about presence of immediate family members in the courtroom during the trial. Some of the current sealed documents will be redacted and made public, while others remain sealed, the judge ruled. The trial is expected to begin on August 11th and last for more than 3 months. So it's going to be a very long trial. If I can't get out in August, I'm hoping maybe in the cooler months, maybe September, October. All right. So that caught my attention. Now, the biggest thing that we saw the other day was this document dump. And let me pull this up here. So the interesting about this, and I'm going to play a little skit here. An old video of mine back from May of 2023. And I just want to pull this up because obviously we know about the an updated timeline now. We have text and the 911 call. And I want to go back to 1 year ago. 1 year ago. And I'm going to play a video for you all. And this is when a friend of mine used to join my panel. And we did a discussion about Xana and Xana's, we called it the encounter with the alleged killer, Bryan Kohberger, in the kitchen at 1122 King Road. And that is, the DoorDash. But in this presentation, me and my cohort, Laura, figured out and said this 1 year ago. I bet you that Bethany and Dylan were texting. Let's play this segment. To read this, and I want everybody to listen, because it's an opinion, it's alleged. The final mention of Funk in the affidavit states that the police reviewed forensic downloads from her phone to determine the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Forensic downloads to determine that the homicides happened between these times. They were fucking texting each other.
Did you hear that?
Did you hear that? They were texting each other because there's timestamps on those texts. They probably heard noises. Now, I'm not going to go anywhere and say they're involved and they set all this up and blah, 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 blah. But it leads me to believe, based on this information, there were some text conversations going on. Did you hear that? Are you up? Possibly. And look at that. And it's crazy because the portions of text messages that we've seen has been pretty much what we said here. And this is 1 year ago I predicted this. 1 year ago I predicted this. And what do we see? Those text messages get released, and pretty much the same thing is going on, what we're saying. All right, let's keep playing through this.
If they were asleep, or say even if Bethany was asleep. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about Bethany right now. If she was asleep at that time, there wouldn't be anything going on her phone between 4 and 4:25 or whenever she fell asleep until whenever she woke up. So why,
based on the forensic downloads of their phones, aha, that they would determine between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. There's timestamps. They were talking to each other.
Yep.
It has to be it.
They were texting. Yep.
Or they were texting their roommates going, what's going on?
And look
what's going on? Or there's phone calls. What's going on up there?
And look, that's what happened. They were texting Kaylee. We saw that. They asked, hey, we're scared. You know, my phone's about to go dead. I saw a man in a ski mask. I mean, this is a year ago. I predicted this, and here it is.
Brenda thinks it's crazy. It's, I think, in a good way. Wow, that's crazy. You know, that reaction. But it's quite possible this is what happened. And this, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show the chat. Here's the chat that we spitballed.
Yeah.
I said to you, I somehow think Bethany Funk has something on her phone. And then I clipped this little thing that I just put up. The final mention of Funk's affidavit. The police say the forensic downloads her phone. And the information on her phone leads the police think what time the crimes happened. She's got something. And you said right away, she and Dylan were texting. And I went, bingo.
We have a chat in here from Bobby Old Dude. I don't know if you can bring it up. It says, if Xana walked...
Hang on 1 second. When I had that moment, I said to Laura, I went, bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to go back and look at these videos, you know, the things that we discussed and talked about back then. And it's like, hey, you know, I was right. You know, we figured it out. They definitely were texting, you know, knowing the friend, you know, why would the police be able to judge something off of forensic download? Well, because there's timestamps there. And they're looking and they say, you know, they were using that information to correlate what time did this happen. And you have the text message of what time they're all happening at. So, you know, it was very interesting. And I was like, wow, I can't believe, you know, I remember that stream and we went back and talked about it. And here we are. We've now figured out text messages. So I'm going to read a little bit from ABC6. And now we have Bryan Kohberger case reveals updated timeline text and 911 call in the Idaho college murders. Let's see. We know about the background of the case, and we have some new documents that dropped and they were available Thursday. The findings of this case against suspect Bryan Kohberger also shed new light on the timeline of events that transpired on November 13, 2022 in the off-campus student residence near the University of Idaho. It says the court documents, which were filed by prosecutors last month, but posted on the docket Thursday, show the 4 victims. We know the background. Let's see here. Were believed to arrive at the King Road address at approximately 1:45 a.m. One of the 2 survivors were roommates, is shown to have messaged an Uber driver to take them from a bar to the house at 2:10. At that time, the only surviving roommate was shown to be awake and texting. At 4 a.m., Kernodle received a DoorDash order to prosecutors, and surviving roommate said that she thought she heard Gonzalez playing with her dog. A short time after the roommate said she heard someone that she thought was Gonzalez saying to the effects, and this is very chilling, there's someone here, prosecutors previously said. At 4:17 a.m., a security camera less than 50 feet, basically the background of stuff that we've known. Just before 4:30, both roommates were texting back and forth, according to the filing transcripts, that they appeared to grow frightened as the calls and texts to the 4 victims went unanswered. So here's what I got to kind of say about this. And listen, I don't want to get down on the surviving roommates, okay? But and we're going to read through the text conversations here in a second. If something didn't seem right that night, and obviously it didn't seem right between Dylan and Bethany, why not call 911 then? Why not, like, hey, you know, even when you get that first text that's going out to Kaylee and you're saying, hey, you know, what's going on? Are you up? Have you heard that? And they're not responding. It just would have been nice the 911 call then, because you could have had this guy caught, escaping the neighborhood or at least around in the surrounding area. They could have been stopping cars. Hey, there's an attack going on in this house. They show up. Unfortunately, those kids are murdered, and maybe they had a chance of catching this guy. Now he's so brazen that he went back to the crime scene the morning after. But why not? That's what I say to anybody. If you're in your house, in, around, anywhere, in some structure, an office, something doesn't seem right, you're hearing something, call 911. If anything, the cops are just going to get showed up and they're going to be pissed that it was a nothing, but at least they're there and they can check it out. So let's see. We'll keep reading a little bit here. No one's answering. The roommate identified as a document as DM, which is Dylan Mortensen, texted Bethany Funk between 4:22 a.m. and 4:24 a.m. I'm really confused right now. Let's see. Kaylee DM texted Gonzalez, what's going on? And then Bethany Funk said, I'm freaking out right now. Dylan Mortensen makes reference to someone like a ski mask almost to Bethany Funk, who responds, shut the fuck up. And again, I don't think this is the complete text messages. We're going to hear obviously all those in court. I'm not kidding, Dylan Morton says, adding that I'm so freaked out. Come to my room, Bethany Funk says, run. While in the chilling exchange don't explain the whole story, they often a first glimpse at what is being said in the King Road home where the killings had, according to the prosecutors, just occurred. Prosecutors leading the case against Kohberger have the court to admit that they exchanged, saying that they present sense impression excited utterances as they described in the moment reactions to what was happening. The roommate said she looked out of her bedroom, but she did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Early pretrial documents said she opened the door a second time and heard what she said was crying coming from Canola's room. She then heard a male voice say, and this is chilling, something to the effect of, it's okay, I'm going to help you. And I always thought it was, I'm going to kill you. According to the previous filed documents, the roommate said she opened the door again and saw a man in black clothes and then the mask walking past her, according to the affidavit. She stood frozen in shock as she walked towards the house sliding glass door in the affidavit. The roommate said she didn't recognize the man, and the affidavit showed that described him at least 5'10", not very muscular and athletic built and bushy eyebrows. I mean, this is all stuff that we've known from the very, very beginning. Let's see. The emergency call was placed after a flurry of texts to the victims' phones and texts between one of the surviving roommates and her father, and another call placed them whose owner is not identified in the filing. So here's kind of my balance, I think, to all of this. Now, listen, we know that it was an extreme party house. We know that there were college kids, tons of kids coming and going from that house all the time. Let's just put it into the scenario. Maybe that night, these two roommates hear something in that house that they've never heard before. The horror that is going on, okay? The extreme horror that is going on in that house. These are unidentifiable noises that they've never heard. And they, like we got the text to Kate, like, what's going on? That's how I would take that text. Like, what is going on? Or what is going on? And maybe this scared them so much that they were afraid to go upstairs. And then after seeing that person in the house with a ski mask, they probably have never seen that before, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning. And you're scared. And like I said, I don't want to get down on them. I think they're going to be key witnesses to what happened in that house that night. They're going to be able to paint a picture and give us some information as to what happening. We're hoping that they give good testimony. We're hoping that they testify. They may get to a certain point and say, I'm not going to testify. We need them to testify. But this gives you a good idea, a better idea, and start painting that picture of what happened inside that house that night. I mean, it's frightening. I mean, That's the only thing. These are unfamiliar noises that they have heard before. And they were so scared. Obviously, you can see the franticness in those text messages. I'm sure there was some screaming going on. I'm sure there was some crying going on. A lot of loud banging. Let's see. So then it goes on to say, let's see, 2 surviving roommates were told someone else at the scene to call the emergency dispatch, which they did. Quote, one of our roommates who's passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. One of them tells the dispatch per the transcript. Oh, and they saw some man in the house last night. The command for all ambulances responded was given to the respond, and the phone was passed around among several people on the scene, the transcript indicated. Is she breathing? The dispatch asked, and I was told no. I think we have a homicide, someone said. Someone on the scene said. Kohberger was arrested and suspect in the 4 stabbing deaths in December of 22 after a 6-week manhunt. And it was indicated, and he was indicted. Indicated, and he was indicted in May of 2023. He's charged with the 4 counts. Obviously, we know that. All right, let's hear from Steve Gonsalves after hearing this information about the 911 calls and the text messages. He was on with Brian Enton the other night and his attorney, Shannon Gray. We'll play through this here.
No, we didn't hear a word, and my wife has said from the very beginning when the hopefully the 911 never came out, and if it did come out, at least she would have, be some prepared. She has a counselor, she has people she could talk to. There's certain things that coping mechanisms. So we'd like for the advocate or somebody to kind of let us know what's going on, rather than nothing personal, but having the media tell you is probably not the same as having somebody that, that you've learned to have a relationship and you trust and you've worked with. So yeah, we're finding out just like everyone else. So it's a bit rough.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And I remember that you had a meeting with them months ago, and I thought they were going to sort of give you guys a heads up when things were going to be
Talk about that. Okay. I mean, it's screwy. Something about this is screwy. And SC says something about DM doesn't feel right. Okay. But here's the thing. You got to think about this. And they've had 3 years to kind of mull over with these witnesses, right? Probably dig in, find out, let's try to say exactly what they were doing, where they were. They've probably had multiple conversations. I would think by now, and this is what I always say about Kohberger, we've had 3 years to kind of stew on this. And I know, and I look in the Facebook groups, there's pro Kohberger Facebook groups. I have pro Kohberger people that come in here. The witnesses have been scrutinized back and forth, but let's just use logic over all of this. Okay. I like to put things into perspective with logic. You have almost 3 years to go over all of this. Okay. 3 years to go all of this. And I know everybody goes, oh, the roommates have to be involved in it. They've got to be involved. There has to be more people involved. It just can't be Kohberger. I would think by now, with all of the entities that have been involved as far as the law enforcement angle, you have the FBI that's been involved in this, obviously Moscow police. I would think by now, and again, I could be wrong, that they would have snuffed out more people involved, or if the roommates were involved. I don't know. It's screwy. It's a little screwy. It's a little chaotic and things, but I'm still going to go on my assumption that they got the right guy. And how all this will come out in trial, it's, again, you have to look at in this perspective as well, too. A lot of those documents are still sealed. There's a lot of evidence that we haven't heard. And I said this way at the beginning of this, when this all happened and they were just sealing everything. I said, you all have to understand, we've only seen like 1 to 5% of the evidence that's got out there to trial. and to the public. I'm sorry. And I think with Hippler, you're going to start seeing a lot more evidence being put out there to the public. And that's going to start filling in some of the gaps. It is a very interesting case. It's very captivating. It is extremely captivating. I think this thing's going to blow up. It's obviously one of the most anticipated trials that we've all been waiting for the last 3 years. I think the public interest is going to come back around to this as well. It's obviously catching my eyes again because, look, I mean, let's face it. We've had a shit ton of hearings over the last 3 years, a lot of joggling back and forth. They moved the venue. They're now out in Boise. There's a new judge. We watched during some of those hearings when the judge is sitting there looking at Ann Taylor like this and just basically dressing her down. I think he's had enough. I think he wants to get this to trial. And I think that there's a lot of critical evidence that we haven't seen yet. And we will, whether it's going to come out publicly or it's going to come out, during the trial. Obviously, it will come out during the trial, but it would be great to start seeing some of this stuff publicly. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Publicly, and I guess that didn't happen in this case, which is unfortunate. Is there anything, Steve, that, I mean, obviously the horror is what stands out to me, but was there anything in the text of the text messages or the call that really struck you?
What struck me is, it's not like Hollywood. It's not a scripted thing. It's not like what you would see on a TV set. That was a raw, emotional breakdown of two girls that were scared for their life. There's part of me that knows that, like how that house was, there's a lot of pranking going on. There's a lot of partying. So there's part of them that was probably thinking, is this a prank? Am I getting messed with? I know for a fact my daughter loved pranking people. So my heart goes out to those two girls. I'd have a hard time if I was one of their parents to have my daughter put through what they've been put through. I mean, we sat 2.5 years on what? Why did this need to be hidden from the public? Why did these girls have to be dragged through all this? These are the type of things that why I do these interviews and why we push back a little bit, because I think a lot of people are questioning right now why this was hidden.
Yeah, I mean, look, Shannon, it's been years and none of this is coming out until now. And now the judge has said that he wants more of this to become public. But Steve makes a good point. I mean, if this had just come out within the first couple of months, maybe it would have been easier on the survivors and the victims' families like the Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean, the prosecution's choice in keeping everything under wraps has been a decision that they've made from the get-go. They haven't wavered from it in any way. That being said, I mean, for lack of a better term, I'm just pissed. Common decency should have the Latah County prosecutor's office and the victims' advocates contact myself and the victims' families and let them know some of the stuff that's coming down and is being filed. So they're not just surprised by it, and just have a really just honest conversation with us about it. But none of that happens. And I'm frustrated and I'm pissed for myself and the family that I don't have a chance to explain those things to them, to give them a little bit of a heads up on, hey, these motions are filed this way and they may or may not be successful. If it is successful, who cares? Doesn't affect the case in some way, or my opinion on whether or not those motions might be filed or might be successful or not. But it's just really, really frustrating. And I know Steve and Christy are frustrated by it, but I'm the one that gets to say, I'm pissed. And I'm pissed for.
No, I think this is. I'm just going to pause this for seconds. Like, a lot of people got mad at Steve and Christy for speaking out. I never got mad at them. I never had anything against them. Everybody thought that they were trying to be like celebrities and rock stars. I didn't think that at all. I mean, 3 years. They've gone 3 years without getting any justice for their daughter. Their daughter was brutally murdered. And I'm sorry, if I was Steve Gonzalez or if I, let's just say I had a daughter or a son that was brutally murdered. I mean, you bet your ass I'd be out there every chance screaming at the top of my lungs like I want answers. I don't give them any shit at all. I think that thank God that they've been vocal, because this case kind of really would have been buried in the media. And it's nice that they pop up every couple of months when things happen in court during the hearings, and they give their side of the story and get this back out on stations like News Nation or CNN and Fox. I mean, I really only see them on News Nation, but to keep this out there and present and just keep banging on that door and saying, hey, 3 years here, we need to start getting to a trial and figure out, who did this. If this is Bryan Kohberger, then he needs to be held, responsible for it. So I have no problem with what they've done. I would have done the same thing if I was in their position, probably more
for everybody. So.
Yeah, and I mean, even if they can't give you the documents ahead of time, it seems like they could at least give you a heads up to tell the family, hey, maybe don't watch the news for an hour. Give me a second to go through these and call you. And it seems like that would be sort of a decent thing to do. Steve, what do you make of this latest motion where they're trying to ban words from coming out during trial? I mean, simple words like that are part of the case: in murder, bushy eyebrows, sociopath, psychopath. Did this come as a surprise, Steve?
Yeah, I thought they'd have a sadistic on there from the profile that I know that they've made of
Why?
him.
Words to be banned: murder, psychopath, sociopath, bushy eyebrows. I've never even seen or heard of anything like this in a case. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. If you think the Karen Reed case is wild, wait till this case. And today got really wild in Karen's case. But I'm still confident she has great lawyers. They're going to find their way through that. All right, let's keep playing here.
Some of the websites that he's been to, that was a one that rated really high with him. So I'm a little surprised they didn't put that word on there. But when you're super desperate, you really have nothing. You attack words and simple things like that. I mean, they're really done. I mean, their client has left so much evidence that they've got to attack words. So I guess it's a sign. It's a sign of what's to come, and hopefully the state, the prosecution, strong enough to see this all the way through and not give in to the desperation that's about to come and the plea deals that they're going to try to negotiate for.
Thanks for watching. Go to join.
All right. Let me get back to my main screen here. All right, let's start looking at some of these documents. I'm not going to read through all of them. I just want to get to kind of the juicy areas of the document. This one here is the text messages. And, motion in limine, if people don't know what that is, and I've been learning a lot about it watching the Karen Reed case, but a motion in limine is a request to the judge to limit or exclude or include evidence before a trial. And the judge usually decides that outside the presence of a jury, and will make that ruling. So let's read through some of this. This is, let me increase the size here so we all can see a little bit better. Let's see. State to admit text message of Dylan Mortensen on November 13, 2022, and the testimony from Dylan Mortensen and Beckley Funk. And these are iPhone extractions provided on April 5th, 2023. It's going to go through all the rules and the laws. Let's see. In the case at bar starting on November 13, 2022 at 2:10:29, Dylan Mortensen sends a text message to EG, that is the Uber driver, to inquire if he is driving. The state submits this text message exchange is not hearsay because it is, it will not be offered for the truth of the matter assertion that the the Uber driver. Instead, it would be offer the time and show a timeline for the night. Dylan Mortensen is awakened and texting at 2:10 and 29 seconds from 4:19:07 to 4:21:50. Amazing. We nailed it in that video a year ago when we had this prediction, the times. Dylan Mortensen attempts to call Bethany Funk, Xana and Kaylee and Maddie. All calls are unanswered. The record of these calls are not hearsay, as they each do not meet the definition of statement, oral assertion, written assertion, or nonverbal contact intend to the assertion of IR, and there's the law. So from 4:22:08 to 4:24:27, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk send the following text messages. Are you all still with me? Raise those hands in the chat. Here we go. And we'll scream it loud for the back of the room, right? Let's see. So Dylan to Bethany, no one is answering. Dylan to Bethany, I'm really confused. Dylan to Kaylee, she sends Kaylee. Dylan to Kaylee again, what's going on? Bethany to DM, yeah, dude, what the fuck? Bethany to Dylan, Xana was wearing all black. Dylan to Bethany, I'm freaking out right now. Dylan to Bethany, no, it's like ski mask almost. Bethany to Dylan, shut the fuck up. Bethany to Dylan, actually, Dylan to Bethany, like he had something over his head and and something on his mouth. And I'm pretty sure these are probably getting cut up. This is not like the full context here. I think these are pretty much probably cut up. Let's see. So DM to Bethany, Bethany Funk, I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out. Bethany to Dylan, so am I. Dylan to Bethany, my phone is going to fucking die. My phone is going to die. Fuck. Bethany, come to my room. Bethany to Dylan, run. Bethany to Dylan, down here. Let's see. It's going to go into, this is interesting here too. Grand jury indicates that such witnesses startling event indicate that both Bethany and Dylan are trying to make sense of a startling event contemporaneously. Oh, I got it. Or immediate following of the startling event. Let's see. Dylan Mortensen grand jury's testimony attaches exhibit S3. There's an exhibit A that the defense is trying to seal, and I want to try to figure out what that exhibit is. I don't think that it's obviously been revealed yet, but I know it's probably somewhere in these documents. You can usually try to figure out around the language they're talking about, like, all right, that's probably what it has something to do with. So at 4:29:39, Dylan calls Ethan. This phone record is like other records of the call, is not a statement pursuant. Dylan and Bethany continue to text. At 4:24:58, Dylan to Bethany, I'm screwed though. Bethany responds, yeah, I don't know, but it's better being alone again. So here's the thing. People are saying like, oh, well, she wasn't afraid to run to Bethany's room, but, and I can't remember, did they end up in the same room together? I don't think they did. Did they? I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't looked at this case in a while. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while. Yeah, I don't know. It's better being alone. Again, both statements are admissible as the present sense of impression, excitement, utterance to describe the event, the state of mind, a spontaneous reaction. I'll look up in the chat here. I don't think they ever said. So here's the thing. Even this text right here is kind of indicating that maybe they didn't. Maybe she's saying, come to the room, run, come here, and they never did. Because here it says, I'm screwed though. Dylan's texting Bethany, I'm screwed though. Yeah, I don't know, but it's better than being alone. So maybe they're saying, hey, come here, but they never did. Oh, so it does show that they ended up in the same room. Okay. They're still texting. I don't think they did. So let's see. So DM calls Gonzalez. DM calls Xana. And then at 4:32, Dylan sends a text message to Gonzalez. Please answer. So there's a lot of shit that was going on in that house. And I'm telling you, these are noises that they were not familiar with. They were not familiar with these noises. That's what scared them. Excuse me. So the next morning, so now it says, let's see. So the next morning, Dylan sends the following text message started at 10:22. DM to Gonzalez, please answer. DM to Mogan, are you up? DM to Gonzalez, are you up? These text messages are not hearsay. All right. DM's text message the night prior. At 11:39, Dylan has a text exchange with her father. These statements are not hearsay. Let's see. She's text message from Jay stating, bro, this text message will not be included for truth or matter asserted. DM calls EA. This phone record is not a statement pursuant. Received a text message from Jay and a vandal alert at 1:04. These text messages are not hearsay. State anticipate both that Dylan and Bethany will testify at trial. Judge John has previously ruled that the text message statements of DM and Bethany are present sense of impressions and excited utterances, holding both the text messages of testimony of Bethany and Dylan told were admissible. So wait, I'm confused. I'm confused. This shows that they ended up in the same room. It doesn't, though. It doesn't, though. Maybe there were some early reports, but it doesn't really say that they ended up in the same room. Unless I'm missing something here. More laws. Conclusion. Based on the cited authority, let's see. Yeah. I don't see that. Maybe they ended up in the same room. I have to go back and look. I don't know what the early report. I can't remember the early reports. It's been a while. I got to go back and look. All right, let's take a look at another document here. So this is the 911 call, and I will make it a lot bigger for the people in the back. Again, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Again, this is like kind of old, coming back to an old friend. It's been a while since I've done this. Very excited that new documents have dropped in here. And if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe and comment after this. It was green. Yeah. It was green. And please subscribe, like, share, comment. I want to know your comments on all this new evidence. Okay, basically laws. I want to get down into the 911 call. Okay, in the case bar, most declarations made of the present sense of impressions. HJ located an unresponsive body of Xana and informed Bethany and Dylan to call 911. EA was present at the time. The declarants personally perceived the event as connotal unresponsive. The major of the declarations were described in the dispatch Carolina Calvin, what they were perceiving. Those statements related to connotal being passed out and not waking up. The declarations were made immediately after HJ discovered Connotal's body. Some declarations made were considered excited utterances. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and they had some man in their house that night. Yeah. As well as heavy breathing and crying that could be heard throughout the call. The declarants responding to a startling occasion, the statement regarding the person being in the home, in the direct response to why Connotal might be passed out. All statements are made while the declarants are processing of what happened to Bethany, Dylan, Ethan, or EA, and HJ. The dispatch Carolina will fall in heavy hearsay rule. All right, let's see. Let's go down. Regarding the emotion of the callers' voices, judge Further held evidence is relevant as to why the law enforcement was sent to 1122 King Road. Conclusion. All right, let's go down to the transcript. Wow, it's crazy seeing the exhibit tag on there. So, all right, Q is a dispatcher. Q1 is man. Oh boy, this is a lot. 911, location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what we have. That's a woman. What is the address of the emergency? 1122, don't know. No, don't. What is the rest of the address? Oh, Kings Road. Okay. And this is the dispatcher. And is that the house? Is it a house or an apartment? It's a house. Can we repeat the address to make sure that I have it right? I'll talk to you guys. We live at the right, so we're right next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification. The address, it's 1122 King Road. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big one too. Let's see. And what is the number you're calling from? What's your phone number? We get the phone number and what's the rest. Okay. And tell me exactly what's going on. One of our roommates passed out and she was drunk last night. She's not waking up. This is kind of odd. So you're not just like trying to see here. Are they not seeing blood of the victim? Was this victim maybe under a blanket and they couldn't see it? It's interesting. You know, maybe they just went into the room really quick and tried to shake them to get up and they ran out of the room. It's odd. Nothing like, hey, this is a bloody scene. It looks like some people have been, unalived. And I know there's a lot of questions about that. And again, this is only some of the transcript, I would assume. Let's see. She's not waking up. No, we saw. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi. And are you with the patient? Okay. I need someone to keep on the phone. Stop passing it around. So the phone was getting passed around. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What's going on currently? Is someone passed out right now? I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay. I think a lot of this has been cut out. Some of this has been cut out. Because how do you go from, I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay, I need you. I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, can you find that out? Yeah, I'll come up. I'll come. We gotta go. We gotta go check, but we have to. Is she passed out? Is she passed out? What's wrong? So again, this could have been something where someone went into the room, maybe shaked her, yelled her name. She wasn't getting whoever this person is, and I think assumed what I've heard is it's Xana, and they probably just came out and called 911. So let's see. Dispatch Moscow Law Ambulance 4. So they're calling all the ambulances. It's an urgent call. She's not waking up, unconscious. 1122 King Road. That's the dispatcher. 70 en route. Okay, one moment. I'm getting help. Started that way. Okay, maybe. 1122 King Road. An ambulance response for unconsciousness. 1122 King Road. I copy. 58. Multiple RPs on the phone advising, saying that the roommate at scene is passed out and not waking up. Believes she got drunk last night. And about a male being in the room with them. Being around. That one I copy. A 20-year-old female unconscious trying to get further. Copy. Yeah, it's Evan. Okay. Okay, how old is she? She's 20. 20, you said. Yes, 20. Here, do you want to talk to them? Okay, hello. Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to about 4 different people. Okay, sorry. They just gave me the phone. Is she breathing? Hello. Is she breathing? No. Okay. En route. Bethany or Dylan, I need you to talking to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. So they're probably trying to get Dylan or Bethany to talk to the 911 dispatcher because obviously they were there. Okay, hello. Okay, I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement to stay online. Okay, is there a defibrillator available? Send someone out to get it now and tell me if you have it. Units responding, RPs advising. The patient is not conscious, not breathing. Okay, if there's a defibrillator available, can someone get it out now and tell me if you have one? We don't have one. Unconscious, not breathing. Do you have the defibrillator? Yep, we have one. So looks like there's law enforcement maybe on scene or someone that has shown up. Yep, we have one. Are you talking to the officer? Okay, here we go. Yes. Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and he can help. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, Moscow 40 out, 46 out. Copy. I think we have a homicide. Whoa, wow. Moscow engine 20 en route. 1370, 70, 107. I relayed it. This transcript has been reviewed and the audio recording submitted and has been an accurate transcript. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to take a sip of water here. Wow. And this is what, basically we've all been waiting for. I want to hear the actual call because you're going to get a lot of background noise and people talking in the background. Wow. Wild. All right, let's get into this here has been fascinating to look through. So another motion in limine comes now the Idaho through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and I'll turn this up a little bit here so everybody can see in the back of the room. Especially moves in motion in limine allow admission of certain evidence. This is wild. The things that I got to read through here, public records. Here we go. A trial state intends to introduce the following certified statements and or records under IRE. It's the law. Here we go. 1320 Linda Lane surveillance footage for November 13, 2022. Hard drive was provided on 4/5/22. 1330 Linda Lane surveillance footage, November 13th. Hard drive provided on 4/5/22. Now we have the Albertson video that we heard about. And I'm wondering, what significance there is going to be on that Albertson video. Do we see him dumping trash? There was rumors that he was like shopping. Wendy, thank you so much for the $10 on Cash App. I appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. So we have the Albertson surveillance video and business records for November 13th. And, it was rumors that he went shopping. Why, what did he buy? Did he buy bleach? Did he buy gloves, trash bags, whatever it is? Now, the Amazon financial and user records for Bryan Kohberger, we've heard that, is speculation that he bought this K-bar knife through Amazon. I proved it. You can buy a K-bar knife through Amazon. I did it. I bought the knife and then I returned it. But I wanted to see if it was available and you can actually do it, and you can. So I wonder if that's where the knife was purchased. AT&T phone records for Kohberger, Madison Mogan, Xander Canodal. Interesting. Hard drive provided on 4/5/23. A bagel shop video, surveillance video on November 13, 2022. Very interesting. Bank records for Bethany Funk and Xander Canodal. You have a Banner Bank record for Ethan. Cafe Arista surveillance video for November 13th. Wow, there's all this video. This is just everywhere. There's videos everywhere. Corner Club video, surveillance video on November 13th, 12th, and 13th. Corner Club financial transaction receipts of sales, November 13th. Costco surveillance video for the 13th. DeSalle student records regarding Bryan Kohberger. Dick's Sporting Goods record. Interesting. Record of sale for Bryan Kohberger. Discovery financial records for Kaylee. DoorDash records for Xana and Ethan. Early warning records. Now, I looked this up. An early warning records are consumer reports that contain information about a person's banking history. They are provided by Early Warning Services, a consumer reporting agency. So if anybody didn't know what that is. Interesting. Look at all these videos. Ellen Financial Records for Kaylee Gonzalez. E&S Services, John 1300 Johnson Ave, Pullman, Washington, is a surveillance video from November 13th. I mean, they got this guy everywhere driving around, I'm sure. Farmers Insurance surveillance video, the 13th. Floyd's Cannabis Company surveillance video on the 13th. Flores Dax, it's a crypto.com financial records for Bryan Kohberger. Interesting. Wow. The Grub Truck video that we know about. Harbor Freight Business and surveillance records. I think they got this guy driving all over the place. I really do. That's why they got all the surveillance video everywhere. Harbor Freight Business and surveillance records. Idaho Central Credit Union. Bank records for Madison Mogan. Indian Mountain Lake surveillance and records. You have Joanne Fabrics financial records. Interesting. Latah County Sheriff's Office Deputy Darren Duke's body cam video on August 21st, 2022. You have Latah County Sheriff's Office citation issued to August 22nd. And we've seen some of that. I think those were maybe the noise complaint videos that we saw. Marshall's financial records for Bryan Kohberger. National Weather Service records from November 12th to the 13th. Numerica Bank records for Kaylee Gonzalez. PayPal Venmo financial records. PNC Bank records for Kohberger. Pentel data records. Pennsylvania State Employee Credit Union for Kohberger. Petco financial records for Gonzalez. Rite Aid financial records. Ross financial records. Sunset Mart surveillance video, another surveillance video. Sunset Mart, another surveillance video. Target financial records. TikTok user records for Xana. TJX financial records for Dylan Mortensen. T-Mobile phone records for Kaylee. I think this is Umpqua. I might have that right. Bank records for Dylan Mortensen. Under Armour transaction records for Bryan Kohberger. Wow, Under Armour. We got Alta financial records, Verizon phone records for Ethan, Bethany Funk and JD, Walmart surveillance and financial transactions for Bryan Kohberger. That's the alleged where he bought the suit, from what I remember. Washington Department of Motor Vehicles surveillance video on the 18th. That's going to be when he probably swapped his plates. Washington Department Motor Vehicle registration documents for Kohberger. Washington Trust Bank records for Bryan Kohberger. Wells Fargo Bank records for Madison Mogan. Fuck. Winco financial records for Kohberger. Winco financial records in surveillance video for Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen. I'm going to start looking up some of these companies after this live. Kaylee Madison and or Xana. Washington State University, WSU, surveillance rubber for the 13th. That's probably him leaving the lot. WSU parking records. Wow. I can't wait to go through some of the stuff and look it up. Very interesting. It's just weird. You see all this money. They want financial records. They want bank statements, purchases, Venmo, PayPal transactions. Very weird. Very weird. Well, I mean, you can go back and go to my Idaho 4 tab. Again, I've been out of this case for the last 2 years. I'm getting familiar with it again. Okay. I've pretty much read articles about the hearings. I think that they have the right guy in this. That's my opinion in this. And you can go back. I have over probably 300 videos on my playthrough tab on my channel, and you can go back and watch all those videos. Again, I've had another case here where I'm local in Massachusetts has kind of taken over this channel in the last 2.5 years. So I've been very transparent with the audience here saying, hey, I'm just diving back into this. You know, when you dive into a case that's local and you're supporting a completely 100% innocent woman and you're doing everything that you can here to get positive press about this person out to the media and share the stories and your experiences that you've been down, you know, when you're down there at the courthouse and provide that information, it's hard sometimes to go back and look. I've been transparent with everybody here today on this live. I need to get re-familiar with this case again, and I plan on it. Familiarized. That's really the right word to say. But it's my opinion. I think they got the right guy. And I think there's a lot of evidence that pins this guy down. He's going to have a problem. And the one problem is that DNA on the knife sheath. Now, I know all the conspiracies out there, but I'm going to tell you, the DNA was there, and that DNA was taken and processed and led us to Kohberger. So it wasn't like we knew Kohberger and then processed his DNA and then found it on the knife sheath. It's the other way around. That profile led us to him. And I think he has a lot of explaining to do about that. And I know the transfer DNA and all that, but some way his DNA, he came in contact with that knife sheath somewhere. And I'm sorry, it's been 3 years, and innocent people that are innocent tend not to want to sit in jail cells unless they're a complete psychopath and want to hang out in a jail cell. I'd probably be screaming at the top of my lungs right now that I didn't do this. And we haven't heard that from him. We heard his weak alibi. He was driving around, just driving around, stargazing. And his defense is really throwing a lot of shit against the wall. Let's throw autism at it. Let's get the death penalty taken off the table. You know, things start adding up here. So he's either the guy or he's got some involvement in this. And I don't know. When you're usually trying to take death penalty and throw autism and driving around and stargazing, little questionable. Because if it was me, I didn't fucking do this. I'd be screaming from a jail cell every single day. Get me out of here. I'm 100% innocent. We haven't seen that. Haven't seen it at all. So just my opinion. All right, let's listen at the back end of the show here. Kind of a recap. And I love watching Anjanette Levy. She's going to put this recap together, about an 18-minute video, and see her final thoughts on all of this. Law and Crime Network, Crime Fix.
New details about the night 4 University of Idaho students were murdered are revealed from text messages the surviving roommates sent to each other. Plus, we now know what happened when the roommates called 911 8 hours after the murders. I lay out the timeline and other details. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. From the very beginning, there have been so many questions about what happened the night 4 University of Idaho students were murdered in a house off campus in November of 2022. 2 roommates were there and were not harmed, thankfully. Now we're getting some answers about what happened that night from text messages the roommates exchanged right after police say the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle were carried out. Now, I'm going to go over those text messages along with the transcript of the 911 call that was placed more than 8 hours after the murders. The prosecution wants to introduce those texts and the 911 call as evidence at Bryan Kohberger's trial later this year. Kohberger faces the possibility of the death penalty if he's convicted of the murders. Kohberger's lawyers are also asking again to strike the death penalty. More on that later. Prosecutors say the texts between the 2 surviving roommates, DM and BF, provide a timeline and should be allowed under an exception to the hearsay rule at trial. The 2 exceptions, present sense impression, that's a statement describing or explaining an event or condition made while or immediately after the declarant perceived it, or an excited utterance, a statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement that it caused. Now, the prosecutors say one surviving roommate, DM, was awake and texting the town's rideshare driver at 2:10 a.m. to see if he was driving that night. Then prosecutors write, from 4:19 and 7 seconds to 4:21 and 50 seconds, DM attempts to call BF, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Madison Mogan. All of those calls were unanswered. According to the timeline laid out by police and prosecutors, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie had been murdered by that point in time, and DM had seen a man in black carrying a vacuum-type object walking through the house. Then, from 4:22 and 8 seconds to 4:24 and 27 seconds, DM and BF sent the following text messages. DM wrote to BF, "No one is answering." And then DM followed up with, "I'm really confused right now." DM then texted Kaylee Gonsalves, "Kaylee, what's going on?" BF then sent a text to DM saying, "Yeah, dude, WTF." BF then followed up to DM with, "Xana was wearing all black." DM then said to BF, "I'm freaking out right now." DM then said to BF, "No, it's like ski mask almost." BF says to DM, "STFU," probably in disbelief. BF then says to DM, "Actually," and DM responds to BF like he had something over his forehead and a little in mouth. DM then says to BF, "I'm not kidding, so freaked out." BF says to DM, "So am I." DM then says to BF, "My phone is going to die." BF then says to DM, "Come to my room." She follows up with, "Run, down here." These text messages raise questions about whether the roommates may have heard more than what we've read about previously. The DM heard crying and a man saying,
Yeah, I read that
"It's okay,
too.
I'm here to help." Then DM,
Yeah, there was like some new statements that came out that the alleged attacker had some vacuum type object with them. That was really interesting too. I read about that. Very interesting.
places a phone call. At 4:24 and 39 seconds, DM calls Ethan Chapin, and the call was unanswered. DM and BF continue to text. At 4:24 and 58 seconds, DM texts BF, "I'm scared though," and BF responds at 4:25 and 16 seconds, "Yeah, I know, but it's better than being alone." Then there's a gap in texting and calling. The next morning at 10:23 a.m., DM texts Kaylee Gonsalves, "Please answer." Then she sends a text to Maddie Mogan, "Are you up?" And then again to Kaylee Gonsalves, "Are you up?" More than an hour later, the prosecution says there are more text messages. At 11:39 a.m., DM texted her father. Then at 11:50, DM received a text from someone identified as Jay that says, "Bro." At that same moment, DM calls someone identified as EA. And then at 11:51, she receives another text from Jay. Minutes later, that 911 call is placed. And at 1:04 p.m., DM received a vandal alert that was a text from the university telling the students all to stay in their homes. Now, prosecutors, of course, want to play the 911 call for the jury. The motion states, the statements on the 911 call are hearsay, but fall within firmly rooted hearsay exceptions and should be allowed. In general, testimony that is hearsay is excludable at trial. However, there are many exceptions to this rule. Two firmly rooted exceptions are Idaho Rule of Evidence 803, present sense impression, a statement describing or explaining an event or condition made while or immediately after the declarant perceived it, and Idaho Rule of Evidence 803-2, excited utterance, a statement relating to a startling event or condition made while the declarant was under the stress of excitement that it caused. Now, the 911 call was placed at 11:56 a.m. on November 13th. It confirms that a male friend of the roommates found Xana Kernodle's body. HJ located the unresponsive body of Xana Kernodle and informed BF and DM to call 911. EA was present at the time all declarants personally perceived the event, Kernodle being unresponsive. The majority of the declarations were describing to dispatcher Carolina Calvin what they were perceiving, present sense impressions. Those statements relate to Kernodle being passed out and not waking up. The declarations were made immediately after H.J. discovered Kernodle's body. The world can be unpredictable and scary, so having a great lawyer really matters. That's where Morgan & Morgan comes in. The firm has more than 1,000 lawyers, and that's because they win a lot.
Yeah, but you're not my sponsor. Let's speed up. Here we go.
Around at times. A woman said on the call, one of the roommates who's passed out and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up. Another woman interrupts and says, no, we saw. Well, the first woman responds, oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. The 911 call taker is trying to figure out what is going on and says, and are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone. Stop passing it around. One of the callers responds, can I just tell you what happened pretty much? And the call taker asks, what is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now? A female caller responds, I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. Okay, I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, that's the call taker. Can you find out? Now that 911 call sounds chaotic. The dispatcher sends an ambulance.
Here's the thing though. You have to, let's just put this in perspective really quick. Said not enough PPE to cover the murder of 4 people in 9 minutes by one person and leave no DNA. But you got to remember, by the time they got to his vehicle and processed it, it had been weeks later. So he already had a head start to clean this car out, this vehicle out. All right, let's keep playing here.
Ambulance. And at one point, a woman on the call says about Xana, she is not waking up. The dispatcher says to the ambulance, multiple reporting parties on the phone advise, saying the roommate on scene is passed out and not waking up, believes she got drunk last night, and unintelligible about a male being in the room with them. Another dispatcher on the line says, that one I copy about 20-year-old female unconscious trying to get further. The dispatcher then says, okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people. A woman then says, okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone. Is she breathing? The call taker asks. And then the woman says, hello? And then the call taker asks again, is she breathing? The woman says, no. Now, the woman, who is a neighbor of the King Road house, then tells the surviving roommate.
But here's the thing. We don't know. This is why I want everybody to stop. We don't know everything in this. We're just starting to get documents and evidence unsealed so we can see what's starting to go on and put a picture together. We don't know everything. We don't know everything. I mean, you've only got like 5%, 10% of evidence or documents unsealed in this case now. And I truly believe that Hitler's going to release more things to the public. But, you know, that's the thing. You don't know. I don't know. But I find it very odd. And I was reading about the DNA document that wasn't it that when it went to go transcribe if Kohberger's DNA was mixed in with the 3 DNA profiles that were found, it's like redacted. Wasn't it redacted?
Need to talk to the 911 call taker.
I think they got
then
the
there's
guy.
discussion about whether a defibrillator is available. Police arrive, and then an officer says, I think we have a homicide. I want to bring in Rich Schoenstein. He is a trial attorney. So, Rich, it's interesting to me. They're filing this motion in limine for the 911 call. And we've heard 911 calls played at trial.
I appreciate Red's been super respectful. I think Red's been super respectful. Obviously, he or she has their point in this case, you know, how they feel about it. Super respectful in the chat. I love that because we like to have respectful conversations in here. It says, hey, I'm just trying to tell you, you got to start somewhere, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's fine to disagree. You have kind of your way you've navigated through this, and I have my way. But we love it. We love the respectful chat. Thank you.
Many, many times, many trials over the years. So is this pretty common to have to file that type of motion to admit something like a 911 call where you would call the dispatcher to the stand or somebody from the 911 center and they would admit that?
So it's a little bit backwards because usually when I see this, it's a motion by the side that doesn't want the evidence let in to exclude that. And this seems to be a motion in advance to make sure that the evidence can go in. So the prosecution is affirmatively trying to make sure that their evidence is going to be allowed. I don't think that's particularly uncommon. And I agree with you. We see 911 calls all the time. They plainly fall, in most cases, in the hearsay exceptions that the prosecution is talking about here, and they get entered into evidence all the time.
One thing that I thought was interesting was just the content of this 911 call. You know, for many months and months, and really more than 2 years now, we've been wondering what was said on that 911 call. We knew it was for an unconscious person, but it paints a very chaotic scene. And just the fact that they're saying that, you know, that Xana, we now know, was unconscious.
August 11th.
She had been stabbed to death. So I don't know if they were just being polite on the 911 call and not saying, look, my friend appears to have blood on her or what have you. We don't know how she was found or what she looked like when she was found, but, you know, unconscious person. And then the police get there and this is clearly a homicide.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit odd too, right? You expect to hear, oh my gosh, my friend is covered in blood or something like that. You would have expected to hear more. So it is a little bit odd the way it is described, but it is what it is. And it paints a picture of chaos, as you say, and confusion and concern. It really takes you into that house in a way that I think we haven't been inside before.
You know, another thing we're getting a really good picture of is the timeline. And that's why they say the prosecution wants to introduce these text messages. And this is another thing, you know, where they're presenting this motion in limine to the court. And they're saying, we want to present these text messages as an exception to the hearsay rule. And this is why. It's pretty common to see these things come in through the testimony of one of the people, either the receiver or the sender of the text message. So what did you make of that as well? Is filing a motion asking to present these things?
Yeah, well, so first of all, I mean, I don't think they're presenting it just for the timeline. I think that's a way to sell the court on letting the evidence in. And that is a reason you might put this evidence in. But make no mistake about it, one of the things the prosecution is trying to do is eliminate any possibility that the other people in the house committed the crime. That's one thing you would have to do if you were prosecuting this case. You have these two other people who were in the house who survived, and you want to make sure nobody thinks that they might have been involved in any way. And these text messages that show their state of mind at the time are a good way of doing it. So it is useful to have a timeline. It's very important to have a timeline of what exactly went on when in the house. But I do think that they want those texts in for more than just that.
These texts are a little bit confounding. We know that the surviving roommates, BF and DM, were both intoxicated. We know for sure that DM was from prior testimony at motions hearings and stuff like that. But basically, she's texting her friend, her roommate, and saying, you know, I'm really scared. You know, something about somebody wearing all black. She's trying to get in touch with the other roommates. It kind of raises a lot of questions to me about whether she was hearing more going on than what we've heard in the past about hearing somebody crying, a man saying, it's okay, I'm here to help you. These text messages are really disturbing.
Yeah, they are disturbing. And
I always thought that statement about, it's okay, I'm here to help you, I always thought that it could have been possibly like, you know, something like, it's okay, I'm here to kill you. You know, I could be wrong, but I always thought it was something like that. Or just getting the confidence of the victim, like, hey, you know, like acting like they're, you know, a police officer or a friend, you know, hey, it's okay, I'm here to help you. And again, I went through that as well on my channel. I have a video that you're all going to want to check out. We called it The Encounter. And that was back, quite a while ago we did that. And that was where I talked about the text messages. And I'll drop that in the chat here for you all to check that out afterwards. There's the video there. It's called The Encounter. And you know, the title of his did Xana encounter the alleged killer Bryan Kohberger in the kitchen? And it's a pretty good segment. It's about 20 minutes long and kind of walks through my, my opinion of what happened then.
And they're hard to
About another 4 minutes
decipher
here on
for
this one.
exactly the reason you say. You can't really trust the immediate perception of the people sending those text messages because it was the middle of the night, because they were probably drunk. So they're not taking in information the same way they would in another condition, and they're not conveying the information. Some of those text messages, right there, they're not grammatically correct, but they're also sort of in short form, and they're a lot of initials, and they're kind of hard to follow. So you have people who may not be observing events with the benefit of clarity and may not be communicating what it is they are observing in a precise manner.
And another thing that's, still a question that we can't answer at this point in time. I mean,
Yeah, it could be.
The roommate DM is saying, I'm scared though. And BF is saying, well, come down here, run. It's better than being alone. And yet they don't call 911. It seems like a very confusing type of time period. Everything that went on, I know they were drunk, but is this something the defense will make hay of at trial?
Yeah, well, I think the defense is going to try. The defense here is reasonable doubt, right? This is a straightforward reasonable doubt case. You don't have enough proof that the defendant is the person who did this, and you don't have accurate storytelling of what was going on in that house in the middle of the night. So if I was on the defense, I would say this is all very odd as to what's happening between the two other people who were in the house. Was something really going on? Was it not going on? Were they scared? Were they drunk? You don't know. You can't be certain as to the meaning of any of it. And I would try to convince the jury that somehow gives them reasonable doubt. But, you're prosecuting the case. You only have the evidence you have. These are the text messages you have. This is the 911 call you have. That's what you've got to go forward with.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think there will be any issue with these being presented at trial. I think the judge will allow it. Thank you so much, Rich Schoenstein.
Great to be on. See you soon.
See ya. Prosecutors also want to admit a number of records, including banking records, surveillance video, and records from stores where Bryan Kohberger made purchases. The surveillance video includes video from Linda Lane near the King Road house that shows a white car driving in the area around the time of the murders.
Yeah, we've seen this video a lot.
Then there are many financial records for the 4 victims, the surviving roommates, and Bryan Kohberger. And some of the financial records for Kohberger include records for Crypto.com. And there are purchase records for Bryan Kohberger from Amazon and Dick's Sporting Goods. There are also financial records from Marshall's for Bryan Kohberger. We know a Marshall's receipt was seized from his apartment. And there are Target financial records that the prosecutor wants to introduce.
Interesting.
And the prosecution also wants to introduce, under the business records exception, transaction records for Bryan Kohberger at Under Armour, along with surveillance and financial records from Kohberger at Walmart. Meanwhile, Kohberger's attorneys are looking to strike the death penalty again. They're asking for this, saying the state has given them a massive 68 terabytes of discovery with no index for what they plan to use at trial. And the state has said it has complied with discovery and has denied holding anything back. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next.
Wild. Just a wild case. And this is going to get interesting when this gets to trial. And I don't know. I'm just curious to see like what kind of supporters or, or deny, supporters or people that don't support Kohberger, if they show up outside that courthouse. I think there's going to be a ton of media down there when this kicks off. And it's going to be interesting. A 3-month trial. It's going to be long. So again, if I don't make it out in August, maybe we go out in like the cooler months, September or October, but I definitely want to try to get out there for about a week or a couple days and see how this all plays out, and being out there on the street, because I've had the privilege of doing that here in the Massachusetts area, because I've been covering the Karen Reed case for almost 2.5 years now. And I have the privilege because I live right here, and I'm blessed that I'm not on the far end of the state. I'm literally right near the courthouse, so I could be down there in 20 minutes. And obviously, if you've been watching my channel, the relationship that I have with the Reeds and supporting Karen and whatnot, it's interesting. It's really interesting. But I want to see how this all plays out. I want to look into these documents a little bit more. I want to line up, line up where some of these security cameras are, and I want to go back and look at the dates and see what I can kind of thumb through here and get some presentations together. It's been a while since I've done a presentation, so that's my plan here of kind of deep diving back into this again. So yeah, Grant's Pants said it is going to be a madhouse. It's going to be an absolute madhouse down there. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the courts. And I think that either way, whatever this way goes, I think there's going to be strong opinions on both sides. And until I can see something that completely goes, I go, whoa, wait a minute here. Huh, maybe this guy didn't do it. Until then, I'll be reserved and with my opinion. I think they got this guy pretty much wrapped up, and it'll only be remains to see. And again, it's not a perfect investigation, but I think there's a lot of things that lead me to believe that he is the guy, or he is definitely involved in this somehow. And it'll be interesting to see how this all kind of plays out. So yeah, Diana says you got popcorn ready for August 11th. Absolutely. Okay, well, we had some interesting chat here this evening. Some interesting personalities in the chat, maybe some new people that came over. If you are new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Tell me what you think of all this new evidence dump. And, we'll keep our eyes on this, and we'll keep popping up and doing some lives about it. I want to dig a little bit deeper into it and see what I can come up with and put something together here. But appreciate you all jumping on this Friday night. Again, a little off topic here on the channel, but there's other things that we need to get into and try to continue to expand this channel among all of the channels out there that are YouTube. And, I want to always diversify my channel and my profile of what we do here to keep things rolling, to try to keep this channel going as far out and as far along as we can. So I appreciate all of you being subscribers here on this channel, members and moderators. And I will be back soon. Probably maybe something tomorrow, but I know definitely we'll be back here on Sunday, right back in the Karen Reed trial, when I have my friend Lauren that will be sitting right beside me as a co-host, and we're gonna have a lot of fun on that day and talk Karen Reed. So appreciate you all being here. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Everybody have a great Friday night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.